Wow, it's been a long time since I came to a youth service, way many years ago. I used to come, thank you. I used to come to every youth service whenever I was a teenager. Um, so my name is Jessica. For those that you don't know me, I am a member of this church. I was raised in this church since I was very little. I think I was 5 years old when I was raised in this church. And my parents used to bring me here, which was our previous church over there. They used to bring me to every single service. Every service we were here. My parents would bring us here punctual, and it was, we never missed a service. And growing up here, Pastor Isaac was actually my teacher at Sunday school, and he always reminds me, and this is the reason why I'm giving this testimony now. He always reminds me of the rebellious kid that I was. And he always reminds me of how I used to talk a lot and how I would always, oh, let me take off my mask so I can hear me better. And so this is the reason that I'm giving the testimony today, is because of the person that I was then to the person that I am now. Um, has been a long, long process, and a lot of it has been, or mainly has been, thanks to my parents because they brought me here. I don't know if many of y'all have been here, or y'all's parents bring y'all here because y'all are forced to be here, or if y'all are here because y'all want to be here. But reality, my parents forced me to be here. And that was the truth. My parents forced me to be at every single service, and I didn't want to be. As a teenager, I didn't want to be there at every service. I started to be very rebellious. I started to hang around crowds, and unfortunately, I got introduced to pills, and I started to become an addict. I had an addiction to pills. It became to where I would take about 20 pills a day, and this was 7 days. It was a part of me. Um, Being a pill addict lasted about 2 years. This was every single day. I thank God right now because I'm okay. I didn't overdose. My kidneys are okay. But it was every single day. Every single day, I took 20 pills, and my parents never knew about it. Up to this day, they don't know. And if they're watching this now, they know. But they didn't know. They didn't know the things that I did. And every time that I came here to youth service, I used to love coming because in my heart, I felt like I wanted to be here. But since I was doing things of the world, I felt like the temptation was winning over. And I was drinking, I was going out. Sometimes I would lie to my parents. I would tell them that I was coming to youth service, and I didn't. I would go to a party, I would sneak out, things that they didn't know. And unfortunately, sometimes the cops were called, and my at one point my parents did find out, and I don't really remember what happened at that time, but um, I wrote a lot. So I still continue to come here. Every time that we had service, I would come. I even sang in choir. I sang in choir, and sometimes I remember whenever we would have youth service, sometimes we would go and go out for dinner or something, and I would come home from dinner, and from there I would sneak out and go somewhere else. And I wouldn't come home till about 1 in the morning because my parents thought I was at youth service. And whenever I was doing all this, in my heart, deep down, something kept telling me like I knew I was doing wrong. I knew I was doing wrong. And I believe now that it was that seed that my parents planted of bringing me here to service every time. The seed that my parents planted by bringing me to service every single time was in the back of my head. every time. I would always think of, okay, I'm gonna go drink, I'm gonna go do this. But in the back of my head, I knew I was doing wrong. I knew Jesus didn't want me to do that. I knew that there was a hell and a heaven, but temptation won over every time because I was with one foot in and one foot out. I wasn't all the way in, I wasn't 100% in. And whenever I was 16, I met my husband, and by age 17, we were married, and I had my firstborn by age 17. I was very young. I lived with my parents. Nobody helped me. Nobody showed me how to be a mother. Nobody gives you that guide. So I was a teenager. I was still a teenager, and I was a mother. I was very depressed, but I still had to manage to become a mother, to be his mom. And whenever me and my husband married, we talked and we knew that we needed God. We needed Jesus. We couldn't do it without Jesus. We came to church whenever we were boyfriend and girlfriend, and that little seed, like I said, that is planted stays there in the back of your head. And whenever we would come, I knew that that seed would grow, and it did. And he got baptized. He got baptized here as a Christian. He used to be another religion, and he got baptized as a Christian. And at age 20, I had my 3 children that are here right here now. And by the age 21, I was at the drinking age. So I was tempted again. I was again tempted. I saw my friends. I was still young, 21. I was still very young, and I still felt like, well, where did all my teenage years go? And I still kept thinking, well, I want to do what my friends do. And me and my husband actually started to go out with friends, started to drink, started, hanging out around with the wrong crowd again. And this, from going from church to going back to the world, we were back at one foot in and one foot out. We weren't 100% in church again. And I think that's the worst thing we can do, is being one foot in and one foot out. Because we avoid the blessings that God has for us. And I wish now that I'm here, that while I was sitting there and I'm looking, I'm like, I wish I would have stayed here in service. I wish that I would have actually listened. I think I would have had so many more blessings. I think God would have blessed me so much more. My blessings would have came to me so much sooner rather than coming at the age that I am now. But I hope that all of y'all go 100% in, because going 100% in, you get all the blessings that God has for you. And if you don't, you avoid those blessings. So going back to that, me and my husband, so we would go out and drink and everything. And so by age 21, about 4 or 5 years later, about 4 or 5 years later, 2015, I was pregnant, and I had a miscarriage. I had a miscarriage at the age of 25, I believe, yes. And I had a miscarriage, and whenever I had that miscarriage, like I said, we were with one foot in and one foot out. And my husband, at that time, unfortunately, he turned his back on God. He hated God. He blamed God. And he blamed God for what happened to us. And from there, everything started going downhill. And we started fighting. We started fighting a lot to the point where divorce was in the line. Divorce was in the line, and we separated. We separated, and whenever we separated, he kept coming to church. He came back to church because he knew that God was the only way and the only one that would be able to get his family back together. And whenever he was coming to church, I didn't want to come back. I didn't want to come back to church because I was already in the world and doing things of the world. And in my heart, I knew that I wasn't doing right, but I just felt like this is what I needed to help fill up the pain that I had from my marriage and from my miscarriage. I started drinking again. I started doing pills again. I started going to get tattoos for no reason, just because I felt the need of that pain. I lost myself. I lost myself completely. I got arrested, and I got charged with an assault. And it was my first time getting arrested. I had never gotten arrested before. Never, never, never. It was my first time getting arrested. And I was arrested for 1 day, thankfully. But when I got back out, months later, they told me that the judge wanted to give me 3 years of prison. I already had 3 kids, remember. I had my 3 kids, and they were trying to give me 3 years of prison. And to me, that was my turning point. That to me was like, I can't. I looked back. It's like a flash came through my mind at everything that I had ever gone through. And I remembered that seed from where my parents brought me from. And I came back to my church. And I came back here because I knew that this was the only thing that was going to save me. And when I came back, I knew that it had to be all in, 100% in, or nothing. I couldn't be with 1 foot in and 1 foot out. I couldn't. There was no way, because I had already done that for so many years. So I knew that if I did that, that wasn't going to solve anything. And when I came back, I gave it my all. Me and my husband, we got back together. We said it was all or nothing, and we gave our whole marriage to Christ. We said Christ is going to be in the middle or nothing at all. And when I went back to court, thankfully, it was a whole process, but to keep it short, the judge said that they weren't going to give me any jail time. And that was only because I know that I came back to church and because I gave my 100% to God. And I didn't get no jail time, nothing, no community service. The only thing I did get was probation, unfortunately, but that is over, done with. And now I have my 3 beautiful children, plus 2 more after my miscarriage. And now my kids, I have a teenager, and my other 2 are almost teenagers. And I'm here, and whenever I see everybody here singing and everything, I want to see them up there one day. Because being here, it starts from here. It starts now. And I would have never thought that I would have been here. I would have never thought I would have been here. Whenever I was in Sunday school service, the pastor, when he would tell us to come up here and do the preaching and everything, I remember they would come up here and preach. And I would look at them and I said, I'm never going to be good enough. That's never going to be me. I'm not good enough. I never thought I was good enough. I always looked at them and I always saw me as the bad kid. I never felt like I was accepted. I never felt like I was a church girl. And now I'm here giving my testimony. And I just want to encourage everybody that it starts from now. Of everything that y'all can avoid, everything that I wish I could have avoided, but it has molded me to the person that I am now. And it starts from here as the youth. stay here 100% in, dive in, because it's the best choice you will ever make. And you will avoid all the problems that you could have in your future. And God bless y'all.